Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Physician's Mind podcast. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson. I'm an incoming medical student, and today I was able to speak with Dexter Hobdy. Dexter is a current medical student. He was a former rugby player and powerlifter, and he also holds a degree from Johns Hopkins University, a Master's of Science. Dexter initially wanted to be a stockbroker before he decided a career in medicine was for him. Throughout this interview, we kind of talked about what it means to set a vision for yourself and to pursue that vision relentlessly, despite failures, despite setbacks, despite hardships. We talked about why a career in medicine is a perfect combination of pushing yourself to be the best version of yourself that you can be, while simultaneously doing the most possible good and improving the lives of other people. We talked about overcoming imposter syndrome in medical school, among various other topics. It was a very great interview. So if you enjoyed this show, if you find it helpful, please share with your friends or family on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. All right. Thanks again for tuning in and enjoy the episode. So Dexter, thanks a lot for joining me today, my friend. How are you doing?
Good news. My pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. So could you just tell us a little bit about who you are, maybe where you're from? What do you like to do for fun?
So I'm originally from Flint, Michigan. I grew up there until I left for college around 2009. I enjoy rugby, powerlifting, gardening, which I did not know I was gonna like as much when I was a kid. My grandmother used to make us get out there and garden. But those are some skills that have come in handy through down the line. Sports in general. I'm a big fan of card games, board games, things like Magic the Gathering. You get me and the boys get together and some magical magic will get played. Just a good way to relax, a strategy. It's just a fun thing that helps me continue to connect with my friends, especially after leaving for a medical school.
Awesome, man. Very cool. So on the topic of medical school, at what point did you kind of decide you wanted to go to med school? I know you did a master's degree at Johns Hopkins, so maybe we could talk a little bit about kind of your experiences throughout undergrad and just when you decided med school was going to be the one for you.
So when I first graduated from high school, I didn't know if I was going to go to college. I wanted to be a stockbroker actually, and I started taking business classes. My coach was like, "No, you should go to school." I was like, "That's fair." So I was in my first business class, and I was like, in my head, I just had this. I'm one of those people that like if I want to do something in the future, I have to be able to envision it. So I saw this picture of me in the future. I had a wife and a kid, but it was like one of those 1960s comics where she has curlers in. I'm just chain smoking over a little computer, just typing away. And then I started to think about, okay, I've seen the images of what that life was. It's suits, it's jackets, it's this, it's that. It's nice, but is that what I wanted to do? So I'm walking into like first day of my business class. I'm like, I don't want to do that. And I was thinking about the thing I really want to do was medicine. For the longest time, I didn't think it was, for me, something I could do or like something, it just seemed just like, I wasn't good enough. So then in my head, I was like, that's what I want to do. So I'm going to do that. And then I just started working towards that. It took a while to finish my undergrad because I had to learn some of the science stuff that I had put off and like kind of readjust. I got to do some research, and that kind of would really did made my idea want to do medicine concrete. I also got to shadow for the first time under an orthopedic surgeon who was up in Owasso, Michigan, and seeing him work and seeing basically how he not only did surgery, but he also was in the clinic. And then after watching him do like this, I think it was a hip replacement, something like that. He did a hip replacement. It was all rough and static. And then he went into surgery for a post-op for a woman, and she was scared, she was frightened, and he talks to her, and then he just, let me see, he had hit to drain her knee, but he's like conversating with her through it, and then he did like the little kid, like, "Oh, your shot's done," and she's like, "Oh, I didn't even know anything happened." And just to see that full spectrum of um, hands-on to clinic to research really cemented that I want to do medicine, that ability to see the kind of like the past, present, and the future. And I get to know I have a hand in it for the betterment of others. That's what kind of really pushed me that way. The Johns Hopkins things was just a way to, in case of an emergency, I needed to have something outside of medicine. because I speak to a lot of people that do pre-health. If you do pre-med and don't do med school, you gonna have to find something else. You might there's only two choices: you either keep going to school or you die broke. So I also want like the idea of having a family before life and all that was something I wanted to make sure I could do in case things go south. But I was fortunate enough to be able to finish that up, do well in my program. I was able to take a class in it called I think it was leadership for healthcare professionals or something like that, and I really got to learn how to take that how people go from the base level. You get your degree, you become a physician, become a good physician, and then you continue to move up that stair step to create positive change.
Man, so that's actually super interesting. So you initially started out thinking you wanted to go into business. You realized, okay, this is not the life I want for me, myself in the future when you did some visualization. And then, not an uncommon experience. Someone gets into the clinic and they kind of see the capacity of what a physician can do. And they're like, wow, that's kind of awesome. I see myself doing the same thing. And then another thing, which is interesting and probably quite common that you said, is that if you have a pre-med degree and you don't go to med school, you don't have many options, right? So got that master's degree, man. And then at what point did you really lock in and start applying to med school? Was that, of course, probably after the degree, the master's degree, or was that in the middle of the
It,
program?
it was after the degree. I always so also like I'm someone that I had a lot of I don't know if it's test anxiety, but it's more like when you want to be perfect and you're like perfect isn't going to happen, you really have to change some gears in your head to go, okay, what can I do? You have to go less about the goal itself and more about what you can do. And the MCAT was always something like you got to study for this many months, you got to do this. I was always going to where I had to wait until after I finished my master's to take that time out to sit down and study for that. I ended up taking it a couple times. Um, but yeah, I started applying probably I think I did 2 or 3 cycles. I did one cycle, withdrew because I I thought I might want to do PA. So I'm 32 now. So I was about 30 at the time, and I was like, I'm getting like maybe I could start life, have a family, and then go back for medicine later. I later realized that I got one interview and I had to turn it down because I realized that's someone else's dream. Someone else's dream of being a PA. That's not mine. I can't take that away from somebody else. That's assuming I got in, but no, I'm not that cocky enough to think they're just gonna take me. But kind of just I had to then take a second. And it was one of those. So funny. The funny story was my grandmother had passed while I was applying, and I was having this existential crisis. Loss will make you get in your own head. And I'm sitting there thinking about like, because I was having factors about do I want to do this, do I not? And I was like, nah, that's just not for me. And I was fortunate enough to right after that apply. Then later on that same, so it would have been about 2022. I applied originally, and I got into MSU Com.
Awesome,
And
man.
there's another place I got into, but that was really the like I think it was like the first interview I got offered was for Com.
Great, great. And what I like about your story so far is the persistence, right? It's like you don't quite know if you're capable of doing something. Everybody has these self-doubts, but the key, like in your case, is to just persist, man, and just keep pushing. And you seem to have done a pretty good job doing that, considering here you are now in med school, right?
I appreciate it. Yeah, my saying for the day is, how you doing today? I persist. I don't
I
know what else.
persist.
It's kind of like have you ever like noticed that like some of the best things in life are by accident? So I play rugby, and there's friends that I was like, oh, we're gonna play a sport together, and I may never see it again. But like the other day, I got a text from a friend that's out in California. I was in another friend's wedding. Like you just never know what's going to happen if you just kind of look for the positive, which isn't always easy because I'll fall in those holes like anybody else. Like, maybe there's no point, it won't work out, but just kind of gotta small gains. Small gains is the name of the game.
Well said,
Yeah.
well said. And do you have any idea what you're interested in specializing in? What kind of physician you want to be?
Sportsman all day. I even got we have the sports OMT clinic here is one of our electives. So I'm in that one. I'm enjoying it. I had a knee surgery a year and a half ago. I tore my ACL in like 2022. Yeah, I think it was. I tore it in 2021. Had surgery in 2022, And through that whole process, I just saw how, you see ortho is like, oh, I'm, ortho, bro, I'm ortho. But like just being in like, so I was over at U of M for my surgery and just, and they were fantastic. And so were the PTs, and just seeing how they went about their business and um, how many people an orthopedic surgeon can actually help and how like they can actually hurt. Because I have a couple friends who've had poor surgeries done and they've left with tissue scars and damage and weakness in limbs. And someone that's in that position that has kind of like, how do I put it? I don't want to say, because I'm in the DO school. I don't want to say a DO touch, but that, because most of the gentleman that treated me was an MD, and there's this common ground of having this caring for patients touch outside of just, oh, it was a good surgery. Was the surgery well? Are they aware of the therapy? Are they doing the other things to make the body healthy? Because when you have surgery, you have to do a lot of things to recover. And within that, you have to think about other lifestyle factors. And I just so happened to get lucky enough to where the environment I was in helped me to realize how. Okay, here's a concrete example. Say you were treating patients, Stephanie, 17, soccer, tears her ACL. She's come from an impoverished family, and you have to do certain things to help a child do athletics. And the amount of effort that like families will put into their child's athletics is crazy. Just bringing that child in and being able to see them like, oh, here's the surgery, here's what they need to do, but here's lifestyle tips, like here's nutrition, here are things like that. Just getting in front of them in those situations that people are willing to invest heavy in gives you the opportunity to affect a life positively. Also, I love sports, and I really think that as time goes on, more people are going to not only orthopedics, because in America we're trying to be more and more active, more healthy, more active. That's going to come with lifestyle factors like stress fractures, this, that, and the other injuries from being active. And having an idea of sports med not only helps you with athletes, but people that just want to be active. And as the aging population tries to be more active, like pickleball. Pickleball's huge. People play up to their 80s, 90s. Well, maybe not 90s, but you know what I'm saying? It helps me to touch another population. So I feel like through orthopedics, it like gives me the most versatility to do the most good in something I'm passionate about, and which is something I really think I'm starting to learn more about in medicine, how much you don't want to do the thing that sounds good, shiny. Yeah, I can pull in 2 mil a year. I'm cutting and chopping and chipping. If you don't care about it, you're not going to do it right. You're not, well, maybe not do it right, but it's going to take a toll on you as well. And it's going to
Right.
take a toll on your patients.
Yeah, most definitely, right? If you're in it for just the income, especially, it's not going to sustain you, especially through the rigors of med school and residency and so on and so forth. You have to have that deep-seated why that will kind of buttress you against the challenges along the way, and just to maintain that genuine approach to the care of your patients.
But no, you got it. But it also offers that, like, you don't get to medical school involves some ambition. It's just a part of it. It's kind of just, it is what it is. You got to have some ambition. Also, it offers me that, I guess, I don't know if you're going to ask the question later, but my whole reason for medicine is I would like to push myself to be the best version of myself and do the most good and accomplish the most that I can, while still improving other people's lives. Max the whole thing out. I
Yeah.
just want to max everything out, do as much good, do the nice thing, be able to afford the house and all that. But I want to sit down at the end of the day and goes, you know, somebody might not like me for, physician, there's a whole argument about how much physicians should or shouldn't make and all that. But if I could sit down at the end of the day and knows I did my best, I had a talent and a skill that I developed as far as I could, and no matter the shiny stuff I have, I've helped more and more people improve more life than the shiny stuff. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said, man. You have to have that motivation because, I mean, what more could you ask for really in just an approach to life than doing the best that you can to learn as much as possible and then use that knowledge to impact people in a genuinely positive way, right? That's what's so unique about being a physician, because you can help people in such a unique manner while also learning as much as you can about the nature of life and the human body and just medicine in general. So that's agreed. That's why I think medicine is such an awesome career field. Now, one question I always like to ask my guests about their experiences is, what are some of the most challenging experiences that you've had throughout medical school, and how did you overcome those challenges?
I guess I can give you a timeline. The first one is getting over whether or not you deserve to be there. Because no matter what happens, you hear stories of like all the student doctor network is good for hearing opinions, but it's terrible for the self-esteem. Like you'll see, oh well, this perfect MCAT score, perfect grades, they didn't get in, and you go, ah. And then it just makes you question, or like you hear someone else's life experience, and then you start to question whether or not you deserve it. I guess along the line, I had to realize, like, even when you write that personal statement, you start to go, wow, it's not parent died of this or this motivation. You just got to get over. Like, it's not get over it. It's more you have to accept the fact that your reason is good enough as anybody else's, and it's not about the reason itself. It's about is that enough fuel in the tank to get you somewhere. Are you a Tesla? Or are you a '96 Chevy? Because that the gas is not different. They get to say the gas is different. Um, that was probably the first thing to get over. Just feeling like I belong. The next one was trying to figure out like there's just between undergrad and medical school. There's difference between grad school too. In medical school, they call like a teacher is a lecturer, but you don't get taught because it's independent learning. And I guess for me, I thought independent, like so self-directed learning was um I schedule my own hours, I make sure I have time to study and all that, but that's not necessarily what it is. That is just being on top of things and being organized. In medical school, self-directed learning is the ability to find out how you learn, taking information, and the best how you need to do things to retain it, how you need to do it. Can you teach yourself things? Can you find those resources that you need to get this to pass your classes? And that was something that I just well, it was foreign to me. I just always was like, it's me. So I didn't do well in my classes because I was like, oh no, I'm not getting it. Instead of I'm not, they're saying it, but it's I'm missing the language when it wasn't on tape at all. It's like if I showed you footage of like I love an analogy, and I showed you footage of your seventh birthday party, and you go, oh, Ron Swanson from the Parks and Rec was there, and you look at the footage, you're like he's not there. Am I missing it? Or where's Waldo? Waldo's there. It turns out Waldo was never on the page. Ron Swanson was never there. You have to. It's just not on there. You have to go and you have to figure out how to get this data on your own. You have to figure out organization, and also figuring like in undergrad, people would tend to give you the tools. You have to be able to make the tools, and that I guess was something to take on, which it's a little frustrating, but it's also a positive to where if you're going to be a physician, if you're going to here's another analogy. I don't know if you've ever seen How I Met Your Mother, the scene where Marshall has to, his dad was the driver, and he has to become the driver. As a physician, you have to become the driver at some point. So you have to be the one to make the tools. So you got to learn how to make it in school, how to gather the data in order to like learn. And after you learn how to do it, you can do it later on in your career, which I'm not sure was an intended purpose of it or just something that was like something that came to me or is just how it is. But learning that you have to figure out how you learn and how to apply it was something that I struggled and challenged with. Also, that medical school is, I guess some say think of it as the highest form of education. It's still not perfect. It is very much like, so I think, so I played rugby for a long time, and I think of very much like sports and rugby because, or like any sport we had to play offense and defense. And because of how that is, you have to learn multiple philosophies. Each medical school is very different. They all do different things. They have positives and negatives. Um, there's going to be times when you go, oh, the lecturer should have all the slides in this lecture, and they don't because that's just this person has a life. This person is a professor. This person a father, mother, clinician, and that's going to be frustrating. Is getting over this like expectation, like oh, it's the highest form, it's the most organized. It is still a humany thing ran by humans doing their humany best to do a thing, and you can't get bogged down in the weeds and frustrated about it, and let it ruin, to throw you off of what you have to do in the day.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. And I think, again, those are just some common challenges that a lot of students face, right? First of which, understanding, like, I've talked to a couple people before who have brought this up. Once you're in medical school, you got to understand you earned your spot there. You're here because you did everything that you needed to do to earn your position, right? That's why it's so important to just work hard and get things done that need to get done in order to get in, right? Because once you're there, you're there. And then the second step, of course, comes with taking responsibility for yourself and understanding, okay, I've got to learn how to adapt to the content that I'm being introduced to, how to effectively study it, and what works best for you as an individual, right? Whether that's group studying or whether that's just hammering Anki cards all day, what have you, right? And then also, like you mentioned, understanding that it's not perfect, right? It's not going to be a perfect curriculum. Not everything's going to be exactly the way that you need it to be, right? It just comes with adapting and effectively overcoming the challenges. So that's fantastic insight, Dexter. That's really good stuff.
I guess I'll say also you aren't perfect.
Right.
Like, yeah, that's also like something I've noticed to where like you want to do the best to like when you try to prove that you deserve to be there, you're like, I gotta be perfect to show I gotta be Jordan. You know who's also really good? Magic. He was very good. But yeah.
That's awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So as we kind of wrap up this interview here, man, we've kind of discussed a little bit of your journey, what led up to you going to medical school, kind of some of your clinical experiences and some of the challenges you overcame. Do you have any advice for somebody who's potentially an undergrad or about to enter medical school or someone who's interested in the career in general? What kind of advice would you have that would be valuable to share?
Your like I said before, your reason is good as anybody else's. Mine is simple. I guess I call it simple, but it speaks to me. Know what your purpose is. Imagine where you want to be, and have a little faith. I think and a little looking back on life, there's a lot of lessons I learned that I didn't think apply, but they all apply. There's somebody out there that needs someone that you might be the only one that can understand them and hear them out. And if you want to be there for them and you want to be that person that, I look back like I would have loved to have somebody be there to give me certain advice, say things, be that clinician I needed, you know. And I love superheroes. I've got a hero complex like a lot of people in med school, but I'm not about to put on a cape and run around and take no bullets. But the least I could do is I can study and I can be in that clinic to go, hey, how are you today? It's gonna be all right because I'm here. Um, I don't know what I'm not perfect, but I'm gonna give my best to you. And if that's something that's calling you, don't shy away from it. Don't let doubts and fears stop you. Take them all in because a lot of people who feel the same way, and that's something I've also realized in medical school. And also why I'm very, very proud and happy that you came here to come because I really have learned how much I don't have to do all by myself. I have to be self-sufficient. I have to be able to step up and get things done. But medicine it's a wild west. It's a bunch of fun, discovery, and hardship. But the way things are going and the way medicine's changing and the crop of people that are coming in now, I think if you want to be a part of something that's going to make the world a better place and get to be a better person and improve that through doing so, take on the challenge, step up, walk through that door. We're going to be proud to have you.
That's great stuff. Great stuff. Just conceptualizing the greatest good you can imagine yourself achieving and aiming single-handedly towards that goal and overcoming any challenges and obstacles that you may face, right? That's what motivates you through the hardcore studying, through the late nights and the early mornings. Dexter, it's been awesome chatting with you today, my friend.
You,
Thanks for being here.
pleasure.